Nick speaking, and welcome to this video. My first tournament, a little update on the army that I'm going to be taking, and also I'm going to run through the army list. This is my first ever tournament. If you haven't seen the previous video, I was undecided which army to take. I got some good feedback from you guys, so thank you everyone. I'm going to be going to this tournament with Aceface from his YouTube channel. Go and check him out. I've played him a few times. He's a great guy, awesome painter, and a fantastic gamer. So I'm really looking forward to this tournament. We're going to be going as individuals rather than playing like a pairs team as such. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Now, this particular tournament isn't a highly competitive event. I've actually had a Facebook chat with the person that runs the tournament, and he was saying how fun-driven the tournament is, which is fantastic. My first ever tournament, I think that's ideal for me. Excuse me. So in the previous video I said about the event has restrictions regarding making your army. I have now made the list, and I've decided I am going to play Necrons, and there's a few reasons for that really. I think number one reason is it's the army which I probably know the best. So I think that's a good start to be aware of your army as much as you can. Also it's going to be quite easy to play in terms of not forgetting too many rules. So don't have any psychic powers, for example. Limited shooting in terms of the gun stats and things. I don't want to be in a position where I just forget a load of rules, which potentially if I took Aldar, for example, I may possibly do that under the pressure of tournament play, and indeed playing so many games. And the maximum I've played is 2 games in one day, and that was really relaxed, take as long as you like event, playing Aceface actually. But this is going to be 3 games in one day, 2 games the next, so it's going to be pretty intense for me, and going to be time restrictions of course as well. So I want an army which is easy to use, something that I'm very familiar with. And then the third reason is Necrons basically are good. So they're very forgiving, so you can potentially make mistakes but be forgiven with the army, where it's such a durable army. So that was another reason as well, just to give me half a chance at doing reasonably well at the event. So I am going to be going, I have decided I'm not going to be going just to have fun. That is the ultimate goal, of course, but I'm going for the experience. I'm going to play different armies, which I'm really looking forward to, and obviously meeting new people, and going to win. I've decided I'm going to go to try and win. And somebody's screaming around the corner. I'm not going to get disappointed, even if I lose every single game, fair play. I accept my first event. But I think I've got half a chance, maybe winning a couple of games. Who knows? But I'm going to go with the mindset of trying to win. I think that's the best attitude to go with, really, to be fair. Okay, so what army am I taking? I am going to be taking my flayed ones. Now, there are quite a number of restrictions, like I said, and it's also at 1800 points. So my standard 2000 point flayed one list consists of 6 units of 10 flayed ones. Now, I can rule that out straight away because the maximum amount of the same units of the same type that you can have is 4 of a kind. That's my first restriction. So I started at base of going with 4 units of 10 flayed ones, and of course I wanted the Reclamation Legion, and the whole flayed one concept works because I have the wraiths in the list as well. The wraiths work with the flayed ones, and I generally would like to have 2 Canaptic Harvests. Now, when I added the points up, not the points for the list, but the points of the battle points that you're restricted to, I was over. I think you're allowed 10 points. I think I was like 11, maybe 12, something like that. So I had to do some soul searching with the army. one option was to drop a unit of wraiths, well, the Canaptic Harvest, and the other option was to drop a unit of flayed ones, and that's what I've decided. I've decided to drop a unit of flayed ones because the wraiths are an integral part of the army, and the thing with wraiths is that they are, obviously, I think we all know they're incredibly survivable. You know, you've got 3+ invulnerable save, you've got 2 wounds, you've got toughness 5, and of course they are beasts, so they're very fast, and they are very survivable. In close combat, they're touch and go, from my experience. Weapon skill 4, so half of the time you're hitting on 4s, which isn't great. I find when you're rolling for 4s, you can either have a good roll, you can have a bad roll, depending on the day. And although they are strength 6, they can wound quite well. Ultimately, they don't really do a lot of damage unless you roll those 6s for the rending. So wraiths in close combat can either be very good, they can wipe a unit out in a turn quite easily, but if you roll a bit dodgy, they can actually stay tied up in combat for 2 or 3 turns. And that's why I like to have 2 units, so that if I do get locked in combat, either because I've been tar pitted, or because I've come across a unit which I find difficult to kill, or I've actually tar pitted a unit myself, which is another great tactic with the wraiths. You know, to tar pit, say a very, very shooty army that's going to destroy me, I can go in and with my very fast moving wraiths, I can tie that unit up. But having the second unit of wraiths free to do something else is pretty essential for the list, bearing in mind it is a close combat list. So I'll have the 3 units of flayed ones, and they will infiltrate as I normally do. The flayed ones are obviously, they add the threat of assault to the list, but they're not necessarily designed to assault. They are designed basically to add the threat. It's the wraiths which are the assault element of the list. And then the flayed ones infiltrate, put the pressure on the opponent as the wraiths go forward. They help take maelstrom objectives early in the game, and they just give me control of the table. Obviously, potentially the the flayed ones, you know, could go down in a turn. Indeed, the wraith could go down in a turn, but hopefully I'll have enough in numbers to cope with something like that happening. So that was my core basis, and of course I want to take full advantage of the Decurion, and I want to have the Reclamation Legion. Now I had some points obviously left over, and because I was maxing out on the battle points available, I couldn't really go too much different to the units that I was taking, so I've decided to beef up the existing units that I would normally take. So I'm going to be taking the Overlord, and he's going to have the 4+ invulnerable save, and he's going to have the 2+ standard save. So I'm going to try and make the Overlord as survivable as I can, so that I don't give up Slay the Warlord. Now I'm not going to take a war sign with him, because I just don't plan on being aggressive. He's going to be very passive. He's going to sit at the back. The Staff of Light isn't actually that bad, it's pretty decent for shooting. Strength 5, AP 3, 3 shots. Okay, it's only 12 inches, but you know, it's not actually that bad. And like I said, I'm going to be very, very defensive with him. He's going to basically sit at the back, join some Immortals, try and take backfield objectives, and also give that 12-inch bubble so they can re-roll the failed RPs of 1. So very, very useful, and I said very, very defensive. Now the Immortals, I normally in my standard list would take 5 Immortals. In this list, because of the extra points that I've got, I am going to beef up those Immortals to a unit of 9. It will give me a little bit more firepower, albeit at that shorter range, but if my enemy does break through the lines with my wraiths and my flayed ones, or possibly even drop pod in, etc., we use flyers, whatever, at least I've got a little bit more shooting ability than in my standard list. Not that I'm going for a shooting army, but it's just nice to have a few extra guns and a few extra bodies to help that Overlord survive. Okay, so that's that unit, and then of course I've got the obligatory 2 units of warriors, and they'll go either side of the Immortal unit, and they'll be supporting, grabbing objectives, being a pain hopefully with their RP rolls. So that's that. So that's standard. And then we move on to the Tomb Blades, the other obligatory unit. Now, there's several ways to take Tomb Blades. In this particular list, I've gone for an aggressive way. So I'm taking a unit of 5 and I'm giving them the big gun. What's it called? Particle Beamer, is it? Yeah, Beamer. And that's the Strength 6 Blast template. So 5 Strength 6 Blast is pretty good. Now in terms of upgrades for that unit, I've stayed away from the +1 to cover save because I don't envisage myself jinking because then you can't shoot. So maybe extreme circumstances, but I probably am not going to jink. But what I am going to do is blast stuff. So I've gone for the Ignores cover and also the 3+ save, which hopefully will help me a little bit, along with of course the 4+ RP. So they're pretty survivable. They're still pretty cheap, but they're definitely going to be a little bit more hard hitting than how in my normal Flavor 1 list I take a unit of 3 with the basic gun with the +1 to save, and they just hover around jinking, trying to get line breaking, etc. This bigger squad will still be flanking, it will still be staying out of trouble at the beginning of the game, but it will be attacking a bit more aggressively than my standard squad of 3. That's the list, as well as of course the Synaptic Harvests. Just briefly run over that. So yeah, 2 squads of harvests, 6 whip coils with 6 wraiths, and 3 basic scarab swarms and a basic tomb spider, Synaptic spider. And they're going to do what I always do, basically, is at the beginning of the game try and give RP to the 2 formations, and then obviously when the time to attack for the race, they go out, and then I'll try and generate as many scarabs as I can, and those scarabs become a second wave. They become a support for the back, for my warriors, for my immortals. Then you've got two units of scarabs, and they can be pretty threatening, and they can be pretty fast as well. Remember, they are beasts as well. So that's in the list as well, of course, as standard. So that's 1799 and comes to 9 battle points. I'm under. I am very happy with this list. I haven't submitted it yet. I've got 2 weeks before I actually have to submit it. So if you do have any feedback, it's most welcome, and I will be having some test games with this list as well. I'll be recording the battle reports as always, so yeah, keep an eye out for those. Really excited by this event, and I'm hoping that you're going to enjoy my journey into my first ever 40k tournament. Thanks for watching.